During a family visit, my 12-year-old daughter found a hidden door in my parents' basement. "Don't tell them," she whispered. When I saw what was inside, my jaw dropped. I didn't shout. I did this. 3 days later, they got a letter and started screaming. I don't go to my parents' place that often anymore. Not because I'm some neglectful daughter or anything close to that. We talk. We exchange polite birthday cards. We even have the occasional phone call that's mostly weather and awkward laughter. But visiting them? It's exhausting in a way that drains something you can't easily refill. It's like walking into a time capsule where nothing has changed except you. The moment I step through that front door, I'm 12 again. Awkward, cautious, and waiting for permission to exist. The wallpaper still clings to the walls in yellowing floral patterns from the 90s. The same wooden clock ticks unevenly in the hallway. Every piece of furniture feels slightly sticky, coated in years of polish and secrets. And there's always that faint, sour smell in the air, a mix of detergent and something damp that never quite dries. Then comes the small talk, endless, looping, meaningless. Updates about neighbors I don't remember, complaints about the government, and debates about which local grocery store has gone downhill. It's like conversational quicksand. The more you try to climb out, the deeper you sink. Still, I visit, because guilt is a stronger force than convenience. So, that Saturday, I packed up my 12-year-old daughter, Lucy, and made the 2-hour drive across dusty highways and pine-lined back roads. My husband didn't come. Work, he said, but we both knew better. He'd rather clean out the gutters than endure one of these polite interrogations disguised as family time. Lunch was the usual ordeal. My mom's special casserole that's 80% noodles and 20% regret, with tea served in mugs so old the floral print had faded into ghost shapes. We ate at the same dining table I used to do homework on as a kid. The same one with knife scratches etched deep into the surface, a fossil record of arguments and dinners past. Dad barely spoke, half watching the TV from the living room. He's been taking it easy, as Mom likes to say, a phrase that means too tired to argue but not sick enough to rest. Mom fussed between the sink and the counter, muttering about how people these days don't cook from scratch. Lucy, restless as ever, had been bouncing from room to room all afternoon, sighing dramatically every 5 minutes. I figured she'd disappeared upstairs to play a game or scroll through her phone, so I stayed behind in the kitchen, rinsing dishes and counting minutes. That's when she appeared in the doorway, wide-eyed, pale, silent. Not scared exactly, but wired with some secret energy. "You need to come with me," she whispered. I turned off the tap. "What's going on?" She flicked her gaze toward the living room. "Don't tell them. Just come." There was something about her tone that froze the usual mom instinct to demand answers. So, I dried my hands, tossed the towel onto the counter, and followed her. Lucy led me straight to the basement door. Now that basement isn't forbidden territory. It's just forgotten. Nobody goes down there unless the power goes out or the washing machine floods again. It's cluttered with boxes labeled in fading marker. Xmas decor, tools, junk. The stairs groaned under our weight as we descended into the cool, stale air. At first, everything looked the same. Dusty floor, sagging shelves, the faint hum of the old dehumidifier in the corner. But Lucy didn't stop. She moved with purpose, weaving between piles of storage bins until she reached the far wall. There, tucked behind a rusty metal shelving unit crammed with paint cans and old garden tools, she stopped. Without a word, she gripped the edge and shoved. The shelf screeched across the concrete, leaving scrape marks in the dust, and that's when I saw it. A narrow door, nearly invisible, painted the same dull beige as the wall, but that latch gleamed, brand new. My pulse skipped. "What is this?" I asked. Lucy didn't answer. She just crouched down, fingers trembling slightly, and flipped the latch. It clicked open. The air that spilled out was heavy and wrong, hot, moist, thick with something chemical and sweet. It crawled up my nose and clung to the back of my throat. Somewhere in my memory, the smell tugged at recognition. Chlorine, perfume, cleaner, something expensive and toxic at once. The space beyond was dark, except for the thin spill of light from the hallway behind us. I could hear water, slow, deliberate drips echoing like a metronome. Beneath it, a deep hum vibrated through the floor, steady and mechanical, as if some hidden engine was running far below. I stepped forward. The air pressed against my skin, warm and damp. My shoes made a faint sticky sound against the floor, and I froze. The smell grew sharper, wrapping itself around me like syrup. The faint glint of metal caught my eye deeper inside. The room, reflections bending and shifting as though light was bouncing off water. I felt Lucy's breath near my shoulder, waiting for my reaction. I didn't move further. My heart thudded unevenly. Whatever this was, it shouldn't have been here. Not in this house. Not in my parents' home, where money was always tight and luxuries were for foolish people. When I was younger, I was the responsible one. That title wasn't given, it was assigned. It meant fewer treats, more lectures, and constant reminders to be grateful. I thought it was love dressed as logic. Turns out it was control. Then my little sister was born, and the rules rewrote themselves overnight. She got everything: ice cream trips, vacations, new clothes, while I got told to think of the future. When I asked why, Mom would say, "She's only little, she deserves some joy." Apparently I didn't. Years passed. I went to college, got married, built a quiet, decent life. My sister stayed closer to home, orbiting our parents like a loyal moon. When Dad got sick 3 years ago, Mom called, panicked about bills and insurance. I didn't even think twice. I started sending $2,000 every month. Rent money gone, travel plans gone. I convinced myself I was saving his life. Every visit after that, the house looked the same. Old furniture, tired walls, no sign of luxury. And my sister always helping out, though never financially, until that day in the basement. The warm, chemical air still wrapped around me as I reached for the wall and found a switch. I flipped it on, and then I understood everything. Light spilled across the hidden room, and for a heartbeat, my brain refused to make sense of what it saw. In the middle of the space, a hot tub bubbled gently, steam curling upward like lazy ghosts. In the corner, a glass-walled sauna glowed gold. Shelves lined the wall, stacks of thick white towels, rows of oils, bath salts, and bottles of champagne. Real champagne. The kind I'd never once splurged on. I just stared. 3 years. $72,000. All while I clipped coupons, skipped vacations, and told my daughter, "We can't afford it right now." They'd built themselves a private spa beneath the same house I thought was falling apart. It wasn't just betrayal, it was mockery, sculpted in tile and steam. Every thank you they'd ever said echoed in my ears, brittle and false. My hands gripped the doorframe so tight I thought my nails might break. I didn't speak. I didn't trust my voice not to shatter the walls. Instead, I memorized everything. The marble tiles, the shining faucet, the crystal glasses. Then I pulled out my phone and snapped photos. Lucy helped me shove the shelving unit back into place, sealing the secret door like we were covering up a crime scene. Maybe we were. "Let's go," I said quietly. Back upstairs, the air felt too normal. The faint scent of detergent and cooking oil hit me like an insult. My parents were in the living room, side by side, the television flickering against their calm faces. Mom turned slightly. "You're leaving already?" I kept my voice even. "We need to head off. Something came up." Dad muted the TV. "Everything all right?" I nodded once. "Fine." The word scraped out of me like gravel. We said our goodbyes, I hugged them. A quick functional thing, but it felt different, like hugging strangers you've been told are family. Their bodies were familiar, but the warmth I used to feel wasn't there. The drive home was quiet. The kind of quiet that has weight to it. The house is blurred by outside. Lucy traced Aileen on the fogged-up window with her finger. Finally, she said, "You're upset." "Yeah," I admitted. "Are you going to say something to them?" "Not yet." She nodded and went back to drawing shapes on the glass. At home, I put my keys down and stood for a moment, in the kitchen, hands flat on the counter. The house felt too still, like it was waiting for me to explain what had just happened. I called my husband into the room. He took one look at my face and didn't ask the polite version of how was it. "What?" "They've been lying to me," I said, "for 3 years. He waited. "They didn't spend the money on treatment. They spent it on—" I stopped. Saying it out loud made it sound almost ridiculous. A spa in their basement. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the towels, the champagne, the steam. In the morning, the anger had settled into something colder, a list. If I was going to do this, I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. First, confirm that Dad wasn't ill. Second, find out where the rest of the money had gone. It started with the first. Mark's name was still in my contacts. Old family friend, golf partner, the kind of man who knows everyone's business without trying. "Hey Mark, it's me," I said when he answered. He sounded genuinely pleased. "Well, this is a surprise. How have you been?" "Good. Listen, quick question. Dad's been unwell the last few years, right?" Silence. "Unwell? That's what they've been telling me." Mark gave a short laugh. "We ran a half marathon together in April. He beat me by 10 minutes. I gripped the phone tighter. "Right. And they've been living it up," he went on. "Hawaii, the wine country weekend, that spa resort up north." He paused. "Wait, you didn't know?" "No," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "I didn't." When I hung up, I felt like I'd been dropped into someone else's life mid-sentence. I opened my laptop and started digging. My parents don't post much online, but other people do. It didn't take long to find them, tagged in photos from Hawaii. Dad with a garland of flowers around his neck, Momine a sun hat and sunglasses holding a cocktail with a little paper umbrella. Scrolling back, there were shots from the spa resort. All smiles and robes and champagne flutes, group dinners, vineyard tours, clinking glasses under strings of fairy lights. I sat there staring at the screen, my tea going cold. By late afternoon, I had a folder on my desktop labeled Evidence. Inside, screenshots of every vacation and photo I could find. Copies of messages where they'd asked for money for treatment. Bank statements showing the monthly transfers. And the photos I'd taken in the basement. Looking at that folder felt like looking at a coffin. That evening, I told my husband, "I'm getting it back." He didn't ask how. He just said, "Good." The next morning, I called a lawyer. I went through the whole thing. The illness story, the money, Thespa, the vacations. I sent her the folder. An hour later, she called me back. "You have a clear fraud case. I can draft a demand letter. If they don't respond, we escalate." "Do it," I said. 2 days later, the letter was ready. It was short, clinical, and ice cold. 72,014 days to pay, evidence attached. We sent it certified mail and by email. 3 days after I found the hidden room, it was on their doorstep. I didn't need Toby there to know the moment they opened it. 3 days after I found the hidden room, my phone rang. I didn't have to check the caller ID. "You've lost your mind." Mom snapped before I could speak. "How could you do this to your own parents?" "Easily," I said. "You gave us that money because you wanted to. You can't take it back now." "You told me it was for Dad's treatment," I said. "So either you were lying then or you're lying now. Pick one." "It wasn't exactly that," she said, her tone softening like she thought she could coax me back. "He wasn't feeling well. We didn't know what it was at first." "Then prove it. Show me the diagnosis, the bills, anything. Silence. You're supposed to trust us. We're your parents. Trust went out the window 3 days ago," I said. "If you won't make this right, I'll have the police handle it." And I hung up. The silence after that was loud. I kept my phone on the counter, screen down while the missed calls and voicemails stacked up. Mom, Dad, my sister, even my aunt. They all had different words, but the message was the same. You're tearing the family apart. My daughter heard some of them. She didn't say anything for a while, just lingered in the doorway when I was cooking like she wanted to ask something. One night, she finally did. Does this mean we're not going to see them anymore? I don't know, I told her honestly. Not for a while. She nodded. I could see the sadness there, but also something else. A kind of quiet agreement. She'd seen the spa too. My husband kept me steady. When the calls came, he'd take my phone and let them go to voicemail. He didn't push me to talk about it every day, but when I did, I listened without trying to fix it. That was enough. I did meet with my lawyer, and we took the file to the police. That part moved slower than I'd imagined. Weeks of back and forth, formal statements, letters sent through lawyers. My parents fought it, said it was a misunderstanding, that I was misinterpreting things. My sister sent long texts about how much stress I was putting them under. I didn't answer any of it. I'd already said everything I needed to. By the second month, it was clear they weren't going to win. The choice was simple. Repay me in full Orphis charges. They chose repayment grudgingly. The money would come from selling the house, spa included. The sale didn't happen overnight. They dragged their feet, complained about the price, delayed the listing. My lawyer told theirs that every week they stalled. The criminal case stayed open. That moved things along. Several months later, the sale closed. The repayment came through in 2 parts. The bulk from the sale, the rest in a signed payment plan. When the transfer hit my account, it stared at the number for a long time. I thought I'd feel triumphant. Instead, I just felt done. One evening, my husband and I sat on the couch looking at the online listing photos. The rooms were staged, every surface gleaming, and there in the middle of the carousel was the spa. Steam curling in the air, champagne glasses on the edge. I smiled. It suits them better in the photos, I said. He grinned. Too bad it's not theirs anymore. That weekend, I opened a new savings account and called it down payment. I told my daughter it was for a house we'd own one day. She lit up like I'd promised her the moon. It was strange seeing my parents' place in a stranger's hands, but in a way, it felt like justice. The repayment came in 2 parts. The day their house sale closed, my lawyer transferred me the lump sum, $58,000. The rest, $14,000, would come in monthly installments of $500 until the balance was cleared. Every payment would be wired directly into my account on the first of the month. Watching that first one land felt better than I'd expected. Not because of the money itself, but because of what it meant. My parents' house, spa, and all belonged to someone else. Now they moved into a small 2-bedroom rental on the edge of town, in a building I'd once heard my mother describe as a little depressing. The rent was manageable, but just barely. I didn't hear these details from them, of course. We haven't spoken since this all started, but word gets around. My cousin sent me a text one day. Saw your mom at checkout at the food barn. She didn't see me. A neighbor of theirs told a mutual friend that my dad was now working mornings as a greeter at the hardware store. 3 years into their retirement, they were suddenly clocking in again. Not to the jobs they'd left, but whatever they could get. My sister didn't escape the fallout. Without my monthly transfers to float them, her helping out roll dried up fast. I found out through the same cousin that she's working full-time now at a dental office, which she hates. Apparently, she complains that her real life has been put on hold. It's petty maybe, but I can't help feeling a flicker of satisfaction. Life for me and my daughter started to look different, almost immediately. We kept our budget steady and put the lump sum into a separate account-marked house. Within months, I was meeting with a mortgage broker. The numbers worked. By spring, I'd found it. A 3-bedroom with light in all the right places and a little backyard my daughter could call her own. I put the $58,000 down, and for the first time in years, I wasn't just paying for someone else's home. I was investing in ours. The day we moved in, my daughter stood in the empty living room, grinning so wide I could see the gap in her back teeth. "This is ours," she said like she couldn't quite believe it. Neither could I. Sometimes I still hear bits about my parents' new life. My dad making small talk about lumber prices. My mom scanning boxes of cereal for people she used to try to impress. Always from someone else, never directly. I don't gloat out loud, but Ito remember the spa, the champagne, and the lies. Funny how the money they stole is the same money I used to start over. Did I go too far or not far enough? Please let me know in the comments and subscribe for